I want to welcome us to Starry Gold Academy. This is October 2024 live class for October 2024 diet, and this is principle of taxation. Principle of taxation. Before we move into the course contents, let's discuss briefly the tips that we need to know for this exam. This is principle of taxation in the foundation level of the exam. And in the foundation level of this exam, you have section A, two sections, section A and section B. Section A is going to be objective, while section B, you have 6 questions and you have to answer 4. So in the objectives, and this objective question is going to cover the syllabus. And in section B, you have some other 6 questions where you have to answer 4. It's good for us to be able to answer the objective very well, because each of the objective question carries 1 mark. So then we can now move to the course contents. The following are the course contents for principle of taxation. You have topic 1, introduction to taxation. Topic 2, legislative frameworks. Topic 3, types and classification of taxes. Topic 4, we have tax administration in Nigeria. Then topic 5, we have pioneer status, incentives and other tax incentives. Topic 6, we have other fundamental concepts and principles. Topic 7, so those are the 6 topics that we have for principle of taxation. So let's pick it one after the other for us to know those things that we need to get ourselves acquainted with as we are going for this exam. Under topic 1, which is introduction to taxation, you should be able to define what is tax, then explain the objective of taxation. You should be able to understand the basic concept of taxation. Then you should be able to differentiate between taxes and other levies. They are different from each other. Then you should be able to talk about the canons of taxations. Then you should be able to explain the types of multiple taxes. And then lastly, you should be able to explain the history of taxation in Nigeria. Now, definition of tax, please, you should be able to know that. Then there are other definition of taxes too. You should be able to know 1 or 2. Then what is taxation? Then objectives of taxation, that is revenue generation, provision of public goods, discouraging consumption of demerit goods, redistribution of income and wealth, economic stability, harmonization of economic objectives, and so on and so forth. Those are the objectives of taxation. Objectives of taxation is the same thing as reason why government taxes the citizens. So they are also the objective of taxation. Then you should be able to tell us, explain some basic concept in taxation, like tax incidence. And tax incidence refers to the final place of the tax or the person who bears the burden of tax by suffering a loss in his personal disposable income. That's what we call tax incidence. You should be able to tell us that. Then
Hello, sir. Hello.
Hello, please, can you hear me?
We can
Hello?
hear you now.
Yes.
So we should be able to explain those terms, tax incidence. You should be able to tell us something you understand by tax incidence. Then tax shift. You should be able to tell us what you understand by tax shift. It's also called tax swap. Then tax rates. You should be able to tell us what you understand by tax rates. And that is the rate of tax. That is the percentage that the tax authority has to be, that we have to deduct. Then tax burden. You tell us then tax impact. Then tax yield. This tax yield has to refer to the revenue that we derive from the administration on taxpayers. So those are the concepts that we should be able to explain. There's and they can just tell you explain the following terms and they will list it there for us. Then we should be able to bring the difference between tax and other payments. We all know that tax is a compulsory levy by government on the citizen of a country that should be paid, while other levies is not on all the citizens. Levies can be in the form of fines. Maybe you break a particular law, then you are levied to pay it. So it's different from tax. Tax is a compulsory levy on all citizens. Then you should be able to tell us what we call canons or principles of taxation. They can say canon and they can say principle of taxation. We have equity, we have certainty. These are the principles of taxation. Equity means that it's not that the poor should be paying more than the rich. There should be equality. You pay according to your income. Then certainty is that taxpayers should know the exact amount they want to pay. Conveniency is that the method of payment should not be cumbersome. It should be easy for taxpayers to pay. Then economy in collection, that is, it's not that the cost we are using to collect should be more than the revenue we are collecting. It doesn't make sense. Then administration, a good tax system should be easy to what? Administer. Then impartiality, there must be impartiality. Then flexibility, there must be flexibility. That is, a good tax system must be flexible to administer. Then simplicity, ease of collection, productivity, then political acceptability. All these are the principles of taxation. Then we look into multiple taxes, then different types of multiple taxes, then collection of multiple taxes. You should be able to say something then. You should be able to tell us what we call voluntary donation and tax. Then, then you should also be able to discuss the history of taxation. The history of taxation has to talk of how did tax begins began. So you should be able to tell us, that is taxation as old as man, that is the origin of taxation. You should be able to discuss it. So they can ask you in the exam. And we divided it into taxation in pre-colonial colonial and colonial period. We have taxation in post-independency. Then we have, so those are the areas we divided the history of taxation. The reasons why government collect tax. Reasons why government collect tax: to maintain general administration, to maintain internal law and order, to redistribute income, to provide social amenities, to protect infant industries in the country, to promote exports, to discourage the importation of dangerous or harmful goods, to combat inflation through fiscal measures, to correct unfavorable balance of payment, to stimulate growth and development in an economy. So those are the reasons why government. So, and that with that, you are through with topic 1. Then we'll go to topic 2. Under topic 2, we are talking about the legislative frameworks. The legislative frameworks. So we talk of legislative frameworks. Under the legislative frameworks, these are the following things we want to discuss. You should be able to understand the provisions of the Constitution, talking about tax. You should be able to identify the various sources of tax laws. You should be able to identify and understand the effect of the enabling acts. Then you should be able to identify the policy guidelines of national tax policies and understand the responsibilities on the stakeholders. Then, and under that, there's something we call Raisman Fiscal Commission. Then, under that, 5 legislation were enacted. That is the Petroleum Profit Tax Act, Stamp Duty Act, Company Income Tax Act, Income Tax Management Act, then Personal Income Tax. You should be able to discuss each of these acts. Then the Constitution and tax too. Should be able to tell us some things that the Constitution states about tax. You should be able to tell us. Then there are some provisions in the Constitution about tax. You should be able to discuss them. Then we should be able to talk about the sources of Nigerian tax laws. The sources of Nigerian tax law, like case laws, these are decided cases, customary laws, that then we have statute laws, we have statute laws, we have Constitution of the Federal Republic, we have budget and procurement of relevant ministries, we have opinions of tax experts, we have auctors insofar as the court take judicial notice of them, we have circulars issued by and the practice of inland revenue. Should be able to tell us those one. Then we look at National Tax Policy, NTP 2017. You should be able to discuss that policy. Then give us the general principle of Nigeria tax system, equity and fairness, simplicity, certainty and clarity, low compliance costs, low cost of administration, flexibility, sustainability. Then you should be able to also discuss the key stakeholders on Nigeria tax system. And the key stakeholders are the government, the taxpayers, revenue agencies, professional bodies, tax practitioners, consultants, agents, media, and advocacy group. So with that, we come to the end of topic 2. Then we move to topic 3. Under topic 3, we want to look at types and classification of taxes. Types and classification of taxes. So under types and classification of taxes, you should be able to talk about classification of taxes by tax incidence. Then you should be able to discuss classification of taxes by tax methods. You should be able to talk about classification of taxes by tax base. So let's look at it. Let's review them. Classification of tax by tax incidence is the one that classifies tax into direct tax, then indirect tax. You should be able to tell us the meaning of direct tax, and examples, then meaning of indirect tax and examples. You should be able to tell us the advantages of direct taxes and disadvantages, the advantages of indirect tax and the disadvantages. You should be able to discuss those ones. They are all in the notes. If you have been following the platform on our Telegram group, all these notes are readily available. Then your video lecture too is there to assist you. I hope we are following. Any questions so far? I hope we are following. Any questions so far?
No.
Okay, let's continue then. Then we should be able to talk about classification of taxes by tax method. The classification of tax by tax method is the one that classifies taxes into progressive tax, regressive tax, and proportional tax. So progressive tax is the one that the higher your income, the higher your tax rate. The lower the income, the lower will be the tax rate. So as your income is going up, the tax you are paying to will be following. That is progressive. Why? Then you should be able to tell us advantages and disadvantages of progressive tax. Then regressive is the one that tax rate reduces as income increases. That's why we call it regressive tax. Under regressive tax, under regressive tax system, your tax goes up, your tax goes down when your income increases. Then you should be able to tell us the advantages and disadvantages of that. Then the last one is proportional tax. Under that method, proportional tax is same for all income. Under proportional tax, the into capital and consumption. Capital, income, and consumption. Then we should, so with that, we have come to the end of topic 3. We move to topic 4, tax administration, that is administration of taxes. How do we administer our taxes? That is what this place want to talk about. So under tax administration, we have purpose. We should be able to tell us the purpose. Then tax structures in Nigeria. Should be able to tell us organs of tax administration. You should be able to tell us something about IFRS, that is Federal Revenue Service. Should be able to tell us something about state internal revenue services. Should be able to tell us something about local government tax authority. Should be able to tell us difficulties encountered by tax collectors in Nigeria. Should be able to tell us factors likely to improve efficiency of tax administrations in Nigeria. Should be able to tell us the relationship between tax policy, tax laws, and tax administration. Should be able to tell us taxes, levies, fees collected by federal, state, and local governments. So then under FRS, under these organs of tax administration, the FRS, those things you should know, their functions, their composition. Please, it's very important. That question used to come out most diets. They will ask you to tell us the composition, their function, how they form quorums, and so on and so forth. So you should be able to discuss it for Federal Revenue Service, Internal Revenue Services, Joint Tax Board, and then Local Government Revenue Authority. We should be able to do justice to that. Then we move to the next topic. So for each of these topics, if you can touch what I am discussing now, do a final revision about them, you'll be good to go. Then we look at another thing that we need to know. Another thing we need to know: taxes that are collected by the federal government, taxes that are collected by local governments, the taxes collected by the state government. You should be able to know those ones too. Then there's another thing we call Joint State Revenue Committee. Joint State Revenue Committee, their function. Then very important part again, Tax Appeal Tribunal. Should be able to know something about Tax Appeal Tribunal. That one now, you must be able to tell us their power, their composition, their quorum. Quorum means what are the numbers of people that must be present before they can start meeting or make deliberations. The term of office, the number of years they use, how can you resign? Then the secretary to the tribunal. All these are those things we should know under that topic. So if you can know those, you are good to go for topic 4. So let's move to topic 5. Let's move to topic 5. Topic 5, we look at pioneer status, incentives, and other tax incentives. That is what we want to look at under topic 5. So under that, we should be able to explain what is pioneer status, what you understand by incentives, then the types of incentives that we have. We should be able to discuss them. So pioneer status. Then some definition like the minister, old trade of business, new trade of business, pioneer companies, pioneer enterprise, principal arts, pioneer products. You should be able to tell us these ones: production day, qualifying capital expenditure, then conditions for granting pioneer status. You should know the conditions for granting pioneer status. Then application process for new applicants. You should know the application process for a new applicant for pioneer status. Then certificates, what we call pioneer certificates. Then how can we cancel a pioneer certificate? The effective date of cancellation. Then the conditions for extension of tax relief period. You should know things on this aspect. Then the advantages of acquiring pioneer status. They can ask you also that in the exam. That you should discuss the advantages of acquiring pioneer status. Then the other incentives. What are the aims of tax incentives? Why did government give tax incentives? What are the benefits of tax incentives? The merit of tax incentives. And then, well, you are good to go. Any question? That is all about the syllabus. Any question? There's just one more topic, but let's ask question before we take the last topic. Hello, any question?
No, none at all.
None at all. So for the exam, are you having the paper tomorrow?
Yes, we have the paper, this principle of tax and business law.
This principle of tax, have you? So the last one is other fundamental concepts and principles. Other fundamental concepts and principle. So under other fundamental concept and principle, you're able to tell us what you understand by presumptive tax, and is a form of tax regime designed to bring taxpayers operating in the informal sector. Then tax policy reforms. Tax policy reform. Then tax incentive is coming up here. Then personal income tax, what you understand by it, then company income tax. Then if they ask you, then education tax, then you know your question involves objectives. At this principle of taxation, you have objectives. So you have to read deeply because they will be asking you some questions. Then another thing I want you to understand, and you should not forget, is that education tax now is 3%, not 2.5 like before. It's 3% now. So please take note. Then withholding tax too, they can ask you all this question in your objective. Withholding tax too now is not going to be paid by small companies again. It is only the large companies and the medium-sized companies that will be paying withholding tax. That will take effect from January next year. So you also know something about tax appeal tribunal, then test of trade, then definition of employment, what you understand by Nigerian employment, what you understand by foreign employment. Then be able to differentiate between employment and contracts of employment. There's difference between employment and contract of employment. Your lecture, you have come across all these things I am talking of. Then you discuss the measurement of income for taxation purpose. Then, so that is all, about what you need to pass this exam. Then also, allowable expenses, good. You should be able to explain what you understand by allowable expenses. and what you understand by disallowable expenses. Allowable expenses are expenses that tax authority allows you to deduct from your income before charging tax rates. While disallowable expenses are expenses that tax authority did not allow you to remove from your income before charging tax rates. So that is what we call allowable and disallowable expenses. So please, we need to know all those ones. Then you also know conditions under which you can be denied to get tax clearance certificate. Conditions under which tax clearance certificate might be denied. Then you should be able to explain what we call tax avoidance, tax evasion, tax avoidance, and tax evasion. Then you should be able to differentiate between the two. They can ask you to tabulate. You can be asked to tabulate by differentiating between tax avoidance and tax evasion. Tax avoidance is legal, tax evasion is illegal, and so on and so forth. At least we have about 7 points on that. Then, what do you understand by back duty assessment? What do you understand by back duty assessment? Then, tax collection. Then, with that, you are good. So now, these are some review questions. Some review questions. What is tax? An example of tax collected under customary law. 5 legislation that were enacted because of raising commission. Differentiate between tax and other payments. Divine taxation. Write short note on the following terms: tax incidence, tax effect, tax shifting. What is the position of the constitution in respect of declaration of income tax proposed? In line with provision of the Constitution, explain the meaning of exclusive legislative list and concurrent legislative list. Now, okay, let me just quickly talk about this. Exclusive legislative list is a list that contains what only the National Assembly alone can legislate on. That is what we call exclusive legislative list. While concurrent legislative list is a list that contains what both the national and the state of our assembly can legislate on. Oh, then you explain direct tax, indirect tax, then list taxes collected by federal government, state government, and this and that. So you are good to go with this. If you can be able to study what we have run through together tonight, you won't have any issue in the exam. Over to us. Any question?
Yeah.
Over to us.
Sorry. Excuse me. Tomorrow
Yeah.
we are expected to have short answer questions. But considering it's CBT, do we type in the answers or?
The issue is objective, not short answer questions. Objective questions.
Only objective questions?
Yes, you have objective questions. There's no short answer questions. You can check your past question.
With the past questions from 2023, 2022, they had short answer questions.
Okay, in 2023.
Yes.
Okay, there's no more objective question there.
There's objective and short answer questions.
If there is short answer question, all you do is to type the answer. Let's say they ask you, they say dash is a compulsory levy collected by government of a country. The answer is tax. Abi, then you type tax as the answer to question 1.
Okay, no problem. Thank you.
I hope that is clear.
Yes, thank you.
And if you are to do that, you have to be very fast, because time, if you have to type very fast, because if you are not careful, you only just still be on maybe 5 questions and the time will just go. How we are getting it?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, any other question? If there's no any other question, then I wish us all the best as we start our exam tomorrow.
Thank you.
Just build a confidence, build confidence in yourself that you can do it and you can make it, and you will make it in Jesus' name. See you there.
Amen.
Wish you all the best. Yeah, bye.
Thank you.